Welcome to the HDI Monthly Webcast. I'm Roy Atkinson. I'm a senior analyst and writer with HDI, and it's my pleasure to host this broadcast. Most of you already know Julie. She's a dynamic and engaging change agent who brings integrity and passion to everything she does. That goes without saying. Through her writing, speaking, consulting, and teaching engagements, her purpose is to change the world through thought-provoking dialogue and interaction. Julie has a degree in computer science from Ohio State University. She holds certifications in ITIL, COBIT, and Knowledge Center support, among others. And she runs an online university that provides exceptional learning experiences. And there's Julie. And Julie, please take it away. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Roy. The presentation today really is focused on what it really takes to define what is customer satisfaction and the investment that's necessary to create an environment that really is driving quality customer experiences. And then we're going to look at what it takes to create an intentional customer experience. And I have a couple slides on ROI. You know, ROI is an interesting thing. You can come up with some, pretty complex models for how to measure it. But ultimately, how many customers we keep is probably the most important thing, and how much revenue we drive from those. And I have a slide that looks at what happens when we lose customers and what that cost is to the organization. Because in most cases, we have to be able to prove that what we're going to invest in order to create quality experiences is worth the investment. So we have to quantify some things that may not be as comfortable for us to look at financially, which is what happens when people leave. And then we're going to look at some of the things that we have to do to focus in on measuring and managing customer satisfaction, including looking at the complaint process, customer loyalty, and then driving continuous improvement. So the first thing that I want to talk about is what really is customer satisfaction. And it's funny because over the last couple days I've had an opportunity to eat in restaurants nonstop. I've been on the road, and I've had varying degrees of satisfaction with the services that I've received. And I can tell you that in most cases, even when the food wasn't necessarily as good as it could have been, the fact that the staff were courteous and provided great customer service really kind of could turn a negative experience into something that was much more positive. And so when we look at from a service perspective, what does it take for us to get that right mix, right? The first thing is the service any good? And for most of you, you know that if you're in a situation where the services are not delivering the right value to your customers, it's really hard for you to, smile and make a difference for that customer. It really fundamentally comes down to, are the services, solidly built, and do they work well? So we're going to look at the mix of services, the value of those services, and then it comes down to, is the customer satisfied with the service that we provide? In the event that they need to use our support organization, how satisfied are they with the support that they receive? And now because of, as we saw earlier, the influence of self-service and the way that we interact with our customers has fundamentally changed. I mean, it's no longer just let's talk to the customer or let's go to their desktop. It is all about providing as much real-time knowledge and information to our customers to help them serve themselves, and this is only going to continue to grow. I know what I do on my cell phone today is dramatically different than what I did just 5 years ago, and my ability to interact with my service providers through my phone is just amazing. So the self-service element is becoming more and more important to our customers, and they have a lot of things to be able to compare us against. And then overall looking at the customer experience, which I think is important for us to understand just what is a customer experience. So when we think about the right mix of services, if you go into a restaurant and if they put the raw ingredients on the menu and ask you what do you want for dinner, it's kind of defeating the purpose of going to a restaurant. The whole point of going into a restaurant is knowing what's on the menu and having an expectation of what type of food you're going to get by going into that restaurant. And it's the same thing with an IT service provider. Our customers want to know fundamentally what is it that we provide, and they want to know how much those services cost because they want to be able to make informed decisions. And if we're not providing the right mix of services, then it's just as easy for our customers to go somewhere else and find another vendor. I mean, look at your own cable services or your broadband services to your home. You have options. And if the package deal that you get from your current provider doesn't give you the right bandwidth, it doesn't give you the right TV or phone options, you have somewhere else that you can go, and our customers are very much more informed today than they used to be of what it takes to provide a good service. The bundling of services, this is a very popular thing in the home. So when it comes in, you go into work and you're wanting to use the services at work, you expect to have some sort of a variety, the right mix of services that are going to meet your needs. And we talk about needs in the workplace. It's what the business processes are needing in order to provide whatever services they provide to their customers. So the right mix of services is incredibly important. Mixing the services, matching them to the right customers, making certain that those services are performing at the levels that are required by the business, incredibly important to the satisfaction of those services as the business units are using them. And we talk about the economical value of a service. My favorite example to use for this is, I had an account with a bank that I really did not like the service that I was receiving. They were nickel and diming me for every transaction above and beyond normal, transactions, and I was just fed up with it. So if I'm going to go out and look for a new service, it's got to have the right economical value to me, which means fundamentally it has to meet my basic requirements. Does it provide me with the level of features and functionality that I need? And then above that, what positives do they give me, and then what negatives? And I have to determine what's the best economical value. So as I go into these other financial institutions to potentially open a new account and transfer my money, I make that evaluation. And it's the same thing in the service market, right? We are consumers that are looking for the best economical value of a service. That means we want the best level of quality for what we're willing to spend on that. And if we don't fundamentally provide that economical value, then our customers are not going to be happy with the services that we provide. So a lot of times these things are outside of the customer service organization's control, right? We don't have a control over what mix of services that we provide, and we don't have control over the economical value of those services. But these two things dramatically influence our customers' perception of those services. So when we start talking about measuring the return on investment, it's also measuring the value of that service, and what it's going to provide to the customer. Now there's the whole, when we look at customer satisfaction, the service itself, there's the performance of the service, meaning transaction time, the ability to have a large portion of business transactions happening at a certain time. And ITIL, we call this the warranty of the service. It's availability, capacity, continuity, security. That performance is incredibly important, not just to the individual user who's sitting down and doing the transactions. I don't know about you, but when all my kids jump on the internet and are gaming and all of a sudden my transactions on the internet are going slow, I'm not a happy camper, but I can go out there and yell at my kids and tell them to get off the internet, right? In a business environment, we have two things that are impacted by multiple users getting on at the same time. We have the individual's business processes that are being slowed down or disrupted, but it also slows down the business performance. And again, when we look at satisfaction of the service, the performance, some of which we do have control over from a support organization because we can optimize the technology, we can improve the way that, kind of put incentives and penalties in place around the time in which people use the service in order to keep it optimized. So here we have a little bit more influence, but again, this is something that dramatically impacts the customer satisfaction of what we provide, and our level of ability to measure and determine the value here and have any type of influence on it is not as significant as it can be. So when we think about satisfaction from a support perspective, this is where we have the greatest amount of impact, right? How we communicate with our customers when things go down, measuring how they think about our services and our products and our responses to incidents and problems that are occurring in the environment, marketing those services, letting our customers know when new things are coming out, helping them to understand when services will be retired, helping them to understand how to take advantage of supplemental services that we provide. And then there's the investment that we make in our staff and our people for delivering a higher level of customer satisfaction. This is completely within our control, and this is where most organizations spend a significant amount of their investment is we're going to smile over the phone, we're going to provide the greatest level of customer satisfaction or value of the service once it breaks or when they're trying to provision that service. But in all honesty, the other areas that we just talked about, the right mix of services, the performance of those services, these are the things that have a greater influence over our customer satisfaction and their view of the return of those services than what we do when things go wrong. But again, the whole picture is what we need to focus on when we think about measuring the value of a service. Now, self-service is a whole new realm of interaction points. It used to be we measured everything through the telephone support that we provided, maybe even our trips to the desktop to help our customers. But now as we begin pushing so much into the self-service realm, it becomes, are we providing the right type of self-service to our customers, the things that are interesting to them to do during self-service? So non-priority reporting of issues, self-service meaning getting information or FAQs or resetting passwords, things that we might be able to do without getting the support organization directly involved. Now, I don't know about you, but as a consumer, I'm becoming more and more critical about the way that self-help services are provided. It used to be, that I was just happy to have a portal to go to and look stuff up. Now it's no longer that, because there's so much being moved into the self-service realm, customers are expecting value-added services here 24/7. It's an expectation. I mean, companies like Google and Amazon, it seems that things are always on. And for our customers, being able to interface with an organization that works 9 to 5, but to be able to have and provision services, 24 hours a day is becoming more and more important. And our customers are depending more and more on this, especially in global environments. So our ability to deliver successful service and support via self-service is also a part of the bigger mixture of whether or not our customers are happy with the services that we provide. So when it comes down to what do we have to do as an organization, we have to look at the overall customer experience. That means we have to evaluate what the services are doing and how they're meeting the business outcomes. Are they enabling the business to do what they need to do within the business? If it's healthcare, better patient care. If it's a financial institution, better management of funds. That's what the services are there to do. And fundamentally, if we don't deliver that, they're not going to be happy. Then we have to look at the economical value of those services. Is it the right value for the right cost for the customer, the right mix of services, our customer support, our ability to deliver through self-service. Each one of these is an interaction point for our customers and a way for us to deliver value. So when we look at an overall customer experience and thinking about the way that an organization delivers satisfaction, we have to look at each one of those interaction points and get better at designing purposeful and meaningful experience with our customer across all of those different channels. So this means really sitting down and think about the variety of people involved in affecting change, the service, the mix of services, the economical value of the services, and the support and delivery of that. That's a broad audience that have to be working together in order to ensure that we have a better customer experience across the board. That's going to improve customer satisfaction. We can't just improve customer service at the interaction point at the service desk. We have to look at, in the totality of it, everything across the board. So what do we have to do when it comes to making an investment in improving customer satisfaction? First of all, without a doubt, the most important thing that translates into value for our customers across the board is having the right people. It's the right people that can design services, deliver them, right, provide the appropriate service, marketing. All of these things are driven by people fundamentally. And having the right people with the right skills, right there we can close a lot of gaps by, it's just more efficient and effective to work with people who understand the customer, who can deliver what's necessary for the customer. Then it's looking at the way that we develop that portfolio and package our services. This requires us to have a much more intimate knowledge of our customers' preferences. Like if you look at the cell phone industry today, they do these packaging, right? You get these different bundles, so many minutes or whatever data plan, and you can put your family on it. I mean, we've gone through a series of different packaging. And as a consumer, you see how enticing certain packages are because you see the limitations of what you have in your current package, and you think, wow, I would really like to have that. That would, you'd get better cost for value. So being able to understand our consumer to the point where we know exactly what those packages should be that are enticing to them, that have the right cost points but also have the right additional features, that's something that requires us to develop a much greater insight. The tools and technologies that we invest in to manage the infrastructure also help, because if we can't manage the infrastructure, then services are going to go down, and that's going to impact everything across the board. Our delivery processes and support processes behind the scene, these are things that we definitely have control over in an operations environment. Those need to be well defined so that we can deliver what is necessary once the customer becomes dependent upon them. And then intentional customer interaction points. So let's take a look at each one of these. First of all, the right people. Hire the best, folks. I know it's hard because we keep looking at this as an overhead cost, but when we look at the cost and economical value of a service, we can do without a lot of things in this model, but we can't do without the right people. I know from my operational experience that if I had the right person, they could easily do the work of two people that were the wrong fit. Sometimes it's hard to find the right person, but once you get them in there, you just see the productivity and the way that they look at things in the environment is much more enhanced. They're interested in creating change. When you get the right mix, you know it, and you can see the improvement in productivity. So this requires us to have the right recruiting methods, the retention that's necessary to keep these people, and also being able to promote them within the company so that when we make an investment and they know our products and our services and our customers, that we don't lose that to another organization. It's very hard to do to keep people today in one organization, but I think we really need to focus on that because that's what's going to drive good, solid customer interactions with people that really know the customer and the products and services that we provide. The next thing is the right portfolio of services. And, I've worked with a lot of different companies throughout my career, and we've always had these conversations about what types of service offerings should we have for our customers. And this is just a picture of a portfolio of consulting services that I had at one point in my career. But ultimately, again, I look at the people component of this. You know that when you get into an environment where you're trying to talk to the customer to understand what their needs are, it's really about the ability to talk to that customer, to relate to them, to understand what services they need to further their business processes, to make them more productive, to eliminate some of the constraints that they may have in the environment. So our ability to talk to the customer to understand their needs should be driving our portfolio of services. All too often, we just start thinking, oh, we'll go out, and this happens all the time. We get all these different business units that decide, oh, we need this service and we need this service over here, and then we find out we have 12 services that all do the same thing. And how inefficient is that for an organization? Economical value is thrown out the window at that point. We have to get much smarter about the way that we identify new services, the way that we manage those services and bring them into the production environment. And then when we look at the core technologies of what help us to manage a customer experience, we start looking at the ITIL framework. We know the phone systems are incredibly important. Knowing who our customers are is incredibly important. Being able to manage incidents and problems and knowledge like known errors. But how we use technology to drive that self-help interface, manage the configurations behind the scene makes us much more impactful when we're trying to deliver and support that. And an overall knowledge database that looks at the customer experience. And not only are we providing knowledge to our customers that enable them to be more self-serving in the way that they interact with us, but it also empowers us about making the right decisions around what products and services and what packaging. If we're capturing the right information, we are then making better and more informed decisions about how to provide the best quality services that we can to our customers. Now, the delivery and support processes behind the scene are incredibly important as well. If you bring a new service into the environment and we're not prepared to support and deliver that service, then once again, we impact customer satisfaction at that point. So part of the preparation going into bringing a service into the environment is making sure that the support organization, that the delivery organization, that the way that we measure and monitor that service, that these things are all put in place before that service is turned on. This is what enables us to look like we know what we're doing. I don't know about you, but nothing really impacts a customer's satisfaction more quickly than going, I don't know, or really, I've not heard of that before. They look to us to be the experts, the ones that know what's going on. They're the ones that are can be confused and be in that state of bewilderment when they call us and they're expecting to get answers. The fact that we're not informing ourselves and preparing ourselves is huge, and that definitely impacts the customer's confidence, which will, again, impact their satisfaction with the services that we provide. So when we talk about creating intended and empowered customer interactions, it means sitting down with that group of people that make decisions around what services, what economical value to the support and delivery part of the organization, and saying, what can we do as an organization that as our customers use these products and services, as they experience issues, as they want to add additional features, it doesn't matter if they're coming in through customer service or through support, we want to make sure that every interaction with that customer is an intended and empowered one. It doesn't always mean that it's going to be positive, right? There are going to be times when things break and our customers are just going to be upset. It's the way that we manage those as an organization, the way that we come across as being focused on delivering customers, that they are important to us and that we understand what's going on and we will do whatever we can to rectify the situation that's occurred. This means ending up with a positive experience with our customer, knowing that things can go wrong, and empowering the people that interface with our customers at that point to make a difference, to change a negative impact into something much more positive on the side of the customer. So this is what we mean by designing intended and empowered customer interactions. So the customer experience is really, we need to look at a couple things when we talk about a customer experience. And I'm going to show you a slide here that, it takes forever to build, but I think you guys will get the picture when I'm done showing it to you. But we need to understand what it takes to create a value network. When I say value, I'm talking about all overall, the service, the economical value, the support and delivery organizations, all of this are integrated into one delivery model that has to be focused on producing value for the customers. If that's not there, again, customer satisfaction is going to be impacted by that. We're going to look at the interface between that and the business, and then looking at the way that we create value across those interactions. So this is my long build, and I apologize here for how long this is going to take, but it definitely creates a good picture for us. We have these functional groups within our IT organizations like the service desk, remote support, desktop, client services, network ops. And we begin to put processes in place in order to coordinate between these different functional groups. We implement incident, request, event, problem management, change management, release. We look at service level management, configuration management. But each one of these processes has a series of inputs and outputs that process is responsible for creating. Well, guess what? If I have an output from incident management, it's probably going to go to problem management or go to configuration management or go to service level management. These things do not operate in isolation of one another. They're very much integrated into the way that we as an IT organization work together. And so when we begin thinking about process-oriented delivery of support, we don't need to just think about what each individual process delivers, but we need to think about how they interact and how that overall delivery model works together. And as you see this build coming into play here, you can see how this very much does represent a network. When we start looking at the design processes around making sure that services have sufficient availability and capacity, that they're economical from a financial management perspective, that they're secure, that they can be continued, and whenever we're using suppliers in that mix, This is an incredibly complex network, and this is one of the reasons why customer satisfaction, first of all, is difficult to achieve, but also because it's pretty costly. We don't work well today in this situation. We don't have a very well-defined value network. We're lucky if we have functional operational excellence. We're even happier when we begin putting processes in place that coordinate amongst the organization. But getting us to the point where we look at value across the board and how all of this works towards delivering an outcome that our customers are happy with, this is usually, in most cases, something that's above what most organizations are capable of doing today. And unfortunately, this is what our customers really want. If we could do this well, they're going to be happy with the services that we provide. So when we look at the way that our service organization interacts with the business, we typically build these shared services organizations that interface between the service provider and the business. And our goal is to manage the customer interactions, between the business and the service unit. It's everything from understanding what services they need to understanding how to deliver those services, and then on a transactional basis, how to provide quality customer service. So those interaction points, every interaction point, when you look at that previous slide and you think about how many different processes might have an interaction with the customer, the capturing of the data across that value network is hugely powerful in driving the ROI analysis of what we deliver to the business. If we don't capture the information, folks, it's very difficult to determine the ROI. So if we're not looking at the value of the service, if we're not looking at the economical value of the service, if we're not measuring customer satisfaction, if we're not measuring the cost of the delivery organization, how in the world can we put an ROI analysis together that really gives us the evidence that we need to show that the decisions that we're making as a service provider are translating to value at the business level? That requires us to measure from the business all the way into the IT or the customer the customer support organization to be able to see the value that we provide. And I don't think a lot of organizations from a return on investment perspective, they do it project by project by project, when ultimately it's not the projects that are delivering value, folks, it's the overall end-to-end service, and is it economically valuable to the business in the delivery of that service. So every interaction is a chance for us to create greater value. When we look at the types of things that impact that, the delivery of involvement, the options that the customer has for buying the services, the brand recognition, is it the first purchase that a customer has? Is it a repeat purchase? What is the complexity of the customer's need, and do we have something that will meet the expectations of the customer? Do we have the ability to bargain, to say, well, we don't provide that, but we do have something over here that would be similar, and, being able to empower that individual that's working with that customer to really own that interaction so that we are able to translate whatever that customer called in about to something that's delivering value to the customer. This is important, and not many organizations view the customer service part of the organization with that level of respect and commitment that they can empower them to do what's the right thing to do to ensure that the customers get the value that they're expecting to get when they interact with the service provider. So what impacts the ROI? And the first thing I wanted to look at was the cost of a lost customer. I think that is incredibly important in the picture of return on investment, but also the cost of self-service. This is an area where we see a pretty significant reduction in the cost of services, but yet at the same time, it's an area where we can very much impact the value of that service. And then we'll look at the satisfaction of the self-service. This is a graphic that I thought was very interesting around the cost of lost customers, and I think this is true of my experiences this weekend around the restaurant services that I had. If a customer, out of the overall customer experience, if only 22% of our customers were not happy, and this is based on if you have 2 million customers, right? If you have 2 million customers, 22% of them are not happy. That's 440,000 customers that are not happy. Now, traditionally, not every customer complains, okay? And I think this is probably getting more significant today. I think we're, especially through use of social networking, we're beginning to complain more than we used to because we can do it stealthily. People don't actually have to see us face to face. But let's just say that we stick with this stat and only 2% of the customers actually complain. That's only 8,800 customers that we get the chance to do anything about in order to influence their perception of the service. 34% of those are at risk because we don't resolve the issue. 28% are unhappy because it's due to some sort of a defect, again, outside of our ability to control. And then maybe we're able to solve or resolve the issues for about 38% of those customers. So if we look at just the number of customers who the issue is not resolved and they defect, we can see that resulting in significant money pretty quickly for an organization. Now, look at the bottom part of this, the 98% that don't complain, meaning we don't have any idea that they're not even happy in the first place. Look at how much financially that can impact an organization very quickly. We're talking about 237,000 that are at risk, which means that's going to reduce the amount of revenue coming in. And then we have how much are defecting, going to our competitors. So it's not just that they're buying less, they could actually go over to our customers. So when we think about the loss of a customer and what that translates into financially for an organization, this is a great way for us to begin demonstrating to management, look, we need to make an investment in customer satisfaction. We need to make an investment in the value of what we provide across the entire customer experience. We don't want to get into this situation where, we have the potential of loss of customers, meaning they've got options today, folks. Even if you're tied to an internal service provider, as Roy said earlier, they're putting things in the cloud. They have options in which they can take their business elsewhere, and we really don't want that to happen. And a loss of customers is a loss of revenue. Now, self-service has a lot of potential value to reduce the cost of services for us. There are varying degrees of how. I think what we've found is that the investment in self-service technologies is a lot greater than we expected, so the transactional costs are not quite as low as we had hoped them to be. But what they certainly do is help us to reduce infrastructure, and that does reduce cost for many organizations. And when I say infrastructure, I'm talking about if we're able to put any of this self-service into the cloud, things like that would be options that can, again, help us to get a better return on investment for self-service. But our goal is to improve the user productivity, to keep them up and running and being productive 24/7, but at the same time reduce the cost of the organization for delivering that service. And there are a lot of things that influence our customers' satisfaction with those self-service channels. I don't know about you, but the frustrating part can be when a customer goes up to the self-service and they're not getting success with that self-service, and now they're coming to us through the phone, and they're definitely impacting the way that they view the self-service channel. But how much we can solve through self-service, we can't measure how much reduction in call volume that produces for the organization, but that's a significant return on investment there as well. And then when we look at when they're calling in, cost per incident, cost for the analyst, the resolution time, these are traditional metrics that we think about measuring when we're working with customers on the phone. Tying this into success within self-service is really important for proving the return on investment, for advancing and growing that community for our customers. Another thing I think that we need to think about in the overall understanding of return on investment is what do we do when we do get customer satisfaction? I don't know about you, but it seems like every vendor that I interact today with is becoming customer survey happy. I go into Starbucks, oh, you've been chosen for a survey. I go into Big Five, oh, you've been chosen for a survey. And I'm becoming so saturated with surveys that I am becoming non-responsive. I have no interest in yet filling out another survey. And it's not that I don't understand the value of doing so, it's that I never see what happens as a result. So if we're going to start talking about measuring the return on investment for improving services, and we're going to begin asking our customers what their opinions of services are, we have to be prepared as an organization to manage that feedback. If we are going to commit to providing higher levels of customer satisfaction, we can't just measure it, we have to follow up. Because if I see the direct relationship between I provided feedback and something actually changed, then I'm more likely to continue to provide the feedback to my customer. So even in an environment where we have all these competing requests for give us your feedback, the one that they're going to pay attention to is the one where they see change happening when they give us the feedback. So in a support organization, we traditionally go through these annual benchmark surveys. These are the longer ones that we might do on an annual basis that really go into detail. They've got a lot more free form. Tell us what you're thinking. We'll probably put into there some, direct customer interviews and forum types of things. Those are important. We have to combine that with the transactional feedback that we get as our customers are interacting with the organization. But really, where we drive the value of the feedback is managing that information and using it as part of our abilities to support decision-making around the right mix of services, the right packaging of those services, the economical value, how to support and deliver those services. We need to be thinking about that overall value network and asking the right questions and doing the right things with that information in order to show our customers, look, you gave us this feedback. We evaluated it. This was too costly. Look, you gave us this feedback. We evaluated it. We came up with the financial support for this. It makes sense for us. This is going to provide a more economical value of a service. We have to tie that in, that analysis. We have to be able to feed that back to our customers so that they see that we're listening, that we're interested in helping them to provide greater value of services. We have to be able to develop some sort of a mechanism to track that information, tie it into that value network so that we're actually demonstrating that value. So what improves the customer experience? There are certain things that drive loyalty. There are obstacles of things that will happen in the environment. Some of these are just problematic and very difficult to deal with, and I'm sure many of you will relate to these. But again, I get back to our people are the biggest thing that make a difference. This is a survey around call centers and the customer's view of what creates a better experience. Now, the customer's in the light green, the enterprise, the business is in the brown color. When we look at things that have the potential to negatively impact the customer experience, overwhelming, offshoring, and IVRs, customers hate both of those things, and there's just no doubt that they do, but we make the decisions to use these things for cost, and they do not translate into value for our customers. But you look at what does, and we see positive influences on enabling our customers to come in and serve themselves, but also, folks, putting a knowledgeable, credible person on the other end of the phone, these are the things that have the greatest impact on the overall customer experience. But yet, look at how many organizations are making the decision because of the return on investment to offshore, to put layers and layers of technology in front of them. I don't know about you, but when I call somebody, it's usually because I've exceeded all of my capability of looking at their website and could not find an answer, and now I need to talk to somebody, and yet we put more technology in front of our customers, and it's just a completely frustrating experience for them. And here we look at what drives loyalty. Number one up there, high quality interactions with our people and the systems. So without a doubt, one of the greatest ways for us to make the best return on investment of money invested back into this value network is to just produce better products and services, folks. And we don't usually think about that because it's pretty much outside of the control of the support and delivery organizations. It's really about the design, getting the right money into the design stage of the life cycle. Number two, the superior product or service. If you're providing something that's better than the other options out there, your customers are going to be loyal. And so, bottom line is, let's invest in making the right decisions around creating products and services that work. And this is going to improve our satisfaction. And guess what? They won't have to call in as much because it doesn't break. We won't have to build as large of support organizations to support it because it doesn't fail. The return on investment really comes down to driving better products and services within the organization. And here are the obstacles, and I'll be the first one to tell you, the things that are up here are the most frustrating part of this. the business process is not having a good understanding of their business process and what they're trying to achieve. How can we hit a bullseye if we don't know what it is? The IT organization, we have outdated systems or ineffective systems. That can be an obstacle. Corporate strategy, there's, if right now it's cut as much cost as we can, then we're not going to get any bandwidth for trying to make an investment to improve customer satisfaction. There's just no doubt that corporate strategy, whatever that is, can have an impact on our ability to change and affect that value network. The employees and their perception of the service. And in IDLE, we talk a lot about what can impact value. The customer's preferences and their perceptions of those services can definitely impact in their view of value. And sometimes our customers are hard to please, and we know that. The complexity of our infrastructure or our interaction channels with our customers can be so complex. I remember I was working with one organization. They built this incredible self-service website, and the corporate strategy said, the policy was, you have to go through this web self-service. You cannot call the service desk to get these services any longer. It was decided that that was one of the ways to reduce costs in the organization. And what it came down to was the customers couldn't find what they wanted on the website, so they're calling the service desk anyway just to get them to tell them where things were. And that's obviously, the complexity is not creating a value interface. And then, of course, just plain costs. So we have to make better decisions on investing in the right people, getting people that are trusted advisors, right? Making sure that we have career paths for people coming in. We need to retain these people. This is what's going to create a significant return on investment for our customers. Doing career development, making sure they have the right skills that are necessary in our work environment. That includes training them on our customers, what those business processes are, being able to relate to the customer more successfully. That's about making the investment in the people once we pick the right people. Now, as far as continuous improvement is concerned, measuring the right things is important. And when we talk about return on investment, you saw the complexity of that value network. For us to get a true return on investment of understanding the way that the IT service provider is providing value, we have to be able to measure the value of services. The service view is incredibly important. That takes into account the quality of the product and service, the economical value of that service, and the way that we support and deliver those services. That's where we can make much better decisions on making investments in the right places for our customers. And, when we think about the traditional metrics that we have, it's around measuring customer satisfaction. We're trying to get the perfect 5.0. Average speed of answer, mean time to restore. These things are still important, but if we don't have the overall value picture, if we don't understand across the board the way that it's not just the way that the service desk interacts with the customer, it's the whole big picture. Do we understand the customer? Do we have the right mix of services? We need to expand our view of what we measure in the calculation of return on investment. And then market your success. When you do get these quick wins where the customers are happy, we have better products and services, we're making cost-justified decisions that drive improvement within the environment, market the heck out of this, because the more that we can deliver value and demonstrate that value, the more confidence we get from the customer, the more that the business will make investments in the areas that are necessary to make the investments to improve customer satisfaction, not in the places where we think, which is often we're always making decisions based on head count, and we have no idea the impact that has on the customer service. So, we need to be able to market, look, we've done this, we've created a tremendous amount of value. Here is the return on the investment of making these changes in the environment and how that translated into customer satisfaction. And we just need to be able to market that and take that message back to the business. So that's all I had for you guys on the topic of ROI. And I hope you understand now, looking at the bigger picture, that ROI is a lot more than just quantifying customer satisfaction at the service desk. It is so much more than that, and being able to measure that comprehensively from the business process into the IT organization is really where we get the right view of return on investment. So here's my contact information and every social networking thing that I'm on. I'm sure there'll be more in the future, but feel free to contact me anywhere you want. Roy, back to you.